when I go check to make sure that there's not any new news now on my Twitter feed, since they have suspended and banned President Trump from Twitter, nobody that I follow on Twitter is ever up. You know how when you click refresh on Twitter and literally no new tweets come up? It used to never do that in the morning. You certainly by the second hour, there would start to be news breaking, things would be happening. With the president off of Twitter, there's nobody on my account who is up. The only other time this used to happen was when I would do late night West Coast Fox Sports Live several years ago. By the time I got back to the hotel, you're getting into bed and I would be like, okay, is there any news I need to be aware of as I get ready to go to sleep? And there's that feeling when you hit refresh and it comes back and there's nothing there, that like the world has stopped moving. That would be probably about 3 a.m. on the East Coast. West Coasters know this feeling when the East Coast has gone to bed. It's about now when you're on the West Coast too, and you're getting into bed and you're clicking refresh and almost nothing new is being posted. Everybody's asleep. That's how it is now on the radio program. For the past 4 years, the president was always up, and almost every day he'd be tweeting something and people would be reacting to it and there'd be a lot of frenzy. Now there's nothing. And look, there's a lot of questions about big tech, and I've written and talked about those a lot. I was on Fox News a couple of days ago talking about big tech. One of the most popular things we've had on OutKick in a while was my column about why Amazon, Apple, Google, all of the big tech companies are basically they need to be broken up under antitrust law, and they have become unbelievably powerful in terms of the decisions that they can make. But do you guys notice that on your Twitter feeds too? For people out there who are like, why are you checking? Because at any moment, in theory, there could be a new NFL coach. Something could happen in the world of sports, and we're trying to be on top of it for you. But have you guys also noticed on your Twitter feeds, like when you're checking them, that they are way more dead now than they were when the president was active?
We obviously follow different people and different sites, but I mean, mine pretty much looks the same. Here on the West Coast, you were saying it, we're up earlier than you are. So it's always kind of looked like that until a little later into the morning.
I mean, it's 7 a.m. on the East Coast. The president was starting the news cycle typically on most days by 7 a.m. He would have something to say. And it's like it would wake people up. And, Dub, have you noticed this? Like it feels like in the morning now things are even more dead than they used to be.
I didn't necessarily notice it until you mentioned it, if that makes sense. Because now that I think about it, the last couple of days, it has been kind of dead early in the morning while I'm sitting here at work. Things don't, I just refreshed my feed and nothing came up, and it's 7:05 Eastern time.
Yes, that's right. Eddie, you're the news guy. Do you notice this? Like, has it seemed like things have slowed down? Now, partly when the NFL ends and college football ends, like we were talking about a second ago, the natural cycle of sports is there's football season and then there's non-football season. So we're down to having 7 more football games. Sorry to disappoint everybody out there. 4 this weekend, 2 next weekend, a week off, and then the Super Bowl. But we're down to 7 games, and once those 7 games are over, it's a big difference. Then you get March Madness. And then basically look, I understand some of you are hardcore Major League Baseball fans and you desperately care about, what happens in June and July baseball, May, June, and July baseball. I understand some of you are hardcore hockey fans, NBA fans. But the number of people that care about sports declines precipitously as soon as the Super Bowl is over until it gets close to football season again.
I have not noticed the difference, but that said, all of the people I follow on Twitter are all about sports, so there's not a lot of political stuff on my.
Literally nothing going on. I clicked refresh for the last 15 minutes. Nobody that I follow has posted anything of any sort of any nature. All right, so we've got 4 different games going on this weekend. We have got 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. I am pretty excited to watch all 4 because although I may have to reconsider my angle of analysis here, I now think that Wild Card Weekend is the best weekend of the NFL season as long as they keep us with 3 games on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. Prior to that, I had considered divisional playoff game weekend to be the best weekend in the NFL because you get the final 8 teams in the NFL, 2 great games on Saturday, 2 great games on Sunday. And I've just seen over the years, and I know a lot of you have as well, that a lot of AFC and NFC championship games don't end up being that interesting. And as you diminish the number of games that are available, the likelihood of any one game being great goes down as well. So this has typically been my favorite week of the NFL postseason. I might have to change it to the Super Wildcard game because I love the triple header on Saturday and I love the triple header on Sunday. And by the way, I think that college football may have to reconsider putting their game on Monday. Did you see the ratings for college football? They were down to the lowest level that the national championship game has ever been. And it actually rated lower, the national championship game did, than the 2 playoff games in the semifinals, which never happens. And you had 2 big brands in Alabama and Ohio State. Now, I tend to think that a lot of that might have been that Alabama came out and just dominated, and by halftime, a lot of people were like, yeah, this game's already been decided. But I'm curious with you guys, because I think this happened. I think now that they've gone to the Super Wild Card weekend, I think a lot of people watched football all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then by Monday night, they weren't as excited to watch a 7th game as they otherwise might have been. And I was having a conversation with a buddy, and he was like, hey, how do you think it would have gone if they had put the college football game on a Friday night as opposed to a Monday night? In other words, if they got college football in front of the NFL's 6-game wildcard weekend as opposed to after it. Do you think that that factored in at all, that there were a lot of people out there that had watched 6 straight football games on Saturday and Sunday, and then by Monday night, they were like, I've already watched enough football, and they decided to watch The Bachelor instead? By the way, I caught up on The Bachelor now that football's over. 7 million people, I think it was, watched the first episode of The Bachelor. And Petros and I are going to have a heck of a time breaking down this season because I think The Bachelor is really likable. But there are a lot of people among the would-be fiancé of The Bachelor, the women.
Do they show booty on The Bachelor?
Do you watch?
No, I don't watch.
Did anybody else watch The Bachelor? Do you watch?
I've begun watching this season, yes.
Are you taking my advice on this is the perfect way to talk to girls?
I am.
Why did you start watching now?
Well, so a couple of my roommates, they watch it for the same reason.
Guys.
Yeah.
Single guys.
Yeah, well, a couple of them have girlfriends,
yeah,
and they come over, so it's kind of like a Tuesday night watch party kind of deal. We just do the recorded version.
Yeah.
Tuesday
and
night.
So everybody sits around and watches it. What do you think about Queen Victoria?
Queen Victoria, man.
Is she an actress or is she actually like that? Not the actual Queen Victoria who's been dead for a while in England. This is the Queen Victoria on The Bachelor.
I mean, I tend to think that she's putting on an act. I mean, there's no way on earth that that's who that girl really is. There's just no way.
See, I was having this conversation with my wife and our nanny. So now that the kids are all in school, we spent Monday afternoon. I talk about how busy I am, but Monday afternoon, like I walked through the house and my wife and our nanny are sitting down watching The Bachelor or 90 Day Fiancé every time I walk through the room. And I'm not sure there's more addictive television than 90 Day Fiancé or The Bachelor. So inevitably,
90 Day Fiancé is addicting.
It's unbelievable. If I walk through the room and they are in the middle of either of those shows, I sit down and like it's 30 minutes later, and all I've done is sit and watch what's going to happen with 90 Day Fiancé. Are they going to get their visa? Did she really buy the car on a credit card?
Although my wife's upset because they have that streaming service now, so they're one of their most popular shows is now only available through their streaming service.
90 Day Fiancé is?
Yeah, it's the roundup of the
the roundup.
Yeah, the Pillow Talk. Yeah, it's only available now on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've watched some of the Pillow Talk.
$5 a month.
How much is it? $5 a month?
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. That's probably $5 well spent.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my wife. She's like, no.
I sit down and I watch those shows when I walk through. And my argument, people are like, oh, why do you watch if you are a single guy, and you have trouble talking to women, if you watch The Bachelor, you have got something to talk to virtually every girl who is 18 to 34 years old, because almost 100% of 18 to 34-year-old girls, that is the prime age of single dating women. And now inevitably I'm going to get blown up. People are like, I'm 35 and I'm still at my prime. Don't you tell me when the prime age is. The prime, like the demographic, 18 to 34 is the prime marriage age of women, right? And so by and large, and maybe you can say, oh, you're 35, you're 36, whatever. You can still be in your prime too. But the prime demographic there that they use for television rating purposes is 18 to 34-year-olds. The number of 18 to 34-year-old single women who watch The Bachelor is almost 100%. And so if you are a guy and you have trouble finding a subject to talk to a woman about, this is a gold mine. Dub, I've been saying this for years, and I know there's a lot of awkward dudes who listen to this radio program and have no idea how to actually talk to a woman. Am I not giving them incredible advice that if they watch this, they will have something to break the ice with?
I mean, absolutely. It's like 2 hours of free content every week, and just 2 hours of conversation starter. Because you mentioned Victoria. There's so many other characters in the show, but I mean, Victoria certainly stands out. Like I said, what is your opinion? Do you think she's real?
I think she has to be an actress. I mean, not only do I not think she's real, I think she's from L.A. I think that she is on the show to be an actress, and there's no way that she could be real as she is. And also, I don't think there's any way that this is the artificial portion of the show. I think his name's James, right? He's former wide receiver at Wake Forest, the Bachelor. I think that he is 100% being told to keep her because she's pretty much riveting television. So I don't think there's any way that he actually wants to date her or seriously consider her as a potential mate, right? Now we can get into whether anybody's likely to be a potential mate on this show.
Also, watch 90 Day Fiance if you want to talk to women about something.
90 Day Fiance works too.
Yeah, a lot of women watch 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. Matt James is the guy's name, and he was a wide receiver at Wake Forest. If you are a big ACC football fan, does anybody know if he was any good as a wide receiver at Wake Forest? Did you anybody look up his stat? Like, I looked him up on Wikipedia because I was like, I'm a big college football fan, but it's not like I know every wide receiver in the game. So I'm not sure how successful of a wide receiver he was at Wake. But he's likable. And you need to have – sometimes they have bachelors on who are awful, like Juan Pablo, who was the former pro soccer star, and he barely spoke English, and all the girls hated him. And, like, they kept just saying, like, hey, I want off the show. And that's somewhat riveting because you're like, it's a cringe-worthy bachelor. But you got to have somebody who can be the villain on the show or at least can have a dark side. And it doesn't seem like the Bachelor does. It seems like he's a pretty good dude. That's pretty good. 40 catches for 401 yards in his last season. I mean, it's not like he was the ninth wide receiver off the bench. I mean, that's a decent number of catches.
Yeah, but unfortunately, no career touchdowns while at Wake. I'm sure that probably haunts him to this day.
Probably does. Was he there with Dave Clawson? Because they scored a lot of touchdowns.
2014 was his senior year.
Yeah. All right. So within this context that I got onto this angle.
Yeah, you were talking about the amount of football games that we're on.
Well, now it's time to go talk to Jeff Schwartz about the game. So my advice to you, everybody out there, single guys that are listening to this, and by the way, Dub's like, well, they're not single. If you're not married, you're single. All right. So everybody, even if you have a girlfriend, you should be watching The Bachelor, because we're going to be talking about it now, because it's on every Monday night. Is that right, Dub?
Monday nights, that's
right.
They
put it head-to-head. I always miss one of the seasons because they put it head-to-head with Monday Night Football. The counter program, ESPN has got Monday Night Football on. But the reason why I brought The Bachelor up was because I think it might have impacted the amount of people watching the college football playoff. Because I mean, I think that this thing has become so popular, The Bachelor, that especially where there's not necessarily a lot of new programming. So they basically went NBA here. They took over a hotel and created their own Bachelor bubble so that they could film during COVID. And they quarantined all the girls and they tested them. Do you think they test them for herpes and like chlamydia and all that stuff too? You think so?
Yep.
So if you're the Bachelor, like everybody's got a clean bill of health. No HIV, no gonorrhea, no herpes, no COVID. Like this is just fertile territory. Do you think they test them for everything?
I would think so, because what do they call it at the end of the season when they go to the private room or whatever? Don't they do that
fantasy
on
suite?
The fantasy suite. There you go. Yeah. I mean, the guy or the girl that's featured on the show, they're going to get around. So I'm sure they're going to make sure that's safe.
Actually a good point. It would be tough if everybody got chlamydia on The Bachelor, or gonorrhea, and they had to stop filming.
Yeah, you want to go viral with
herpes,
your show, but not
you don't
like
want to go with that virus. All right, so you're probably right. They probably do STD catch-up test them, although I've never actually thought about that before. It would be a real scandal if The Bachelor had HIV and they finished the show and everybody had HIV who was one of the finalists. Like, that would be a rough spot to be in. Probably a big lawsuit. So I bet they do check them for STDs. So my question when I started talking about all this was, do you buy into 6 wild card weekend games on Saturday, Sunday? College football then going on Monday is in a tough spot because of all the football. Do you think they might do better if they put that game on Friday night leading into the NFL as opposed to the capstone to the NFL?
1,000,000%. The new girl that I'm dating, she is a casual football fan, so she didn't mind the first couple of games. But then once I got into Sunday's games, she was like, can we go outside? Can we do something? And so I took a little break after the Ravens-Titans game and we just went to the park, played some basketball, did stuff like that.
The rims are back up?
No, this was in her city. Yeah, not in Burbank. I can't play basketball.
They took the rims off of your public courts.
Man. So, by the time it got to Monday, and she has a son who loves football, and he wanted Ohio State to win. He's a Justin Fields fan. So I wanted to watch Monday's game with him, but I'm not going to go back after she was already complaining on Sunday that there was too much football on. So I think the amount of football games definitely affected what was going on Monday. Now, not for me. I watched at home. I
still think it would have potentially done better if it had been closer. I think people by halftime felt like Alabama had it won when they were up 35-18.
That's a good point.
Ohio State could, or 35-17, I guess it was. Ohio State couldn't cover Devontae Smith. I mean, the game, it felt like a pro team playing a college team, watching Alabama against Ohio State.
Yeah, might as well have been Coastal Carolina, to be honest with you, because at halftime it felt like Devontae Smith had won the game by himself. Almost. And so I started doing work emails for OutKick at halftime. And I still had it on in the background, but I definitely was not paying close attention in the third and fourth quarter.
Dub, what do you think about the idea of Friday as opposed to Monday?
I love that idea personally. A nice little hors d'oeuvre heading into a triple header and a triple header. And just by the way, on the whole Bachelor thing, I think one thing, at least for me, because I've been dating a girl for a couple months here, and I watch every football game ever. That's just who I am. That's just what I do. The FanDuel app here in Tennessee has made the viewing experience of non-fans incredible. Because
she likes to gamble.
Yeah, I've turned her on to the FanDuel app because she goes to the boost section, where they boost the odds. So she'll put like $1 or $2 on one of those boosts.
Gives her an incentive to care.
Right, exactly. So it makes it, I guess, bearable for her to watch.
I've thought about that because
so you say turn the girl into a fellow degenerate.
Yeah, you turned her into a gambler. But I honestly, I was talking about this with my wife. My wife and my mom both have the app and occasionally will place bets. And I don't think they've ever placed bets before. But if you think about this, whenever there is a Super Bowl party, it seems to me that women get most fired up about like the bias square, what's the game going to end up, the total going to end up on, like if you are having people over and you're going to do some sort of raffle or some sort of ability to win money, it seems to me that women get into that in a way that they typically wouldn't, right? I don't know what percentage of people who gamble right now are male, but on sports. But I think it's fair to say it's like 90%, right? I mean, I think if they were giving you the data on who is gambling, but the average number of women that watch football games is much higher than that. So it's interesting you mentioned that, Dub, because I do think, and I'm not talking about big dollar wagers, I'm just talking about making it fun. I do think that as they gamify the gambling, so you bet $1, $2, $5, something small, but you give somebody a chance to have a stake in the game, it actually is going to increase the number of people that are interested, particularly if it's relatively easy to use the app, which it is, by the way, FanDuel.com/Clay. Eddie, do you think Friday night it would be easier to draw an audience for the college football title game? Do you buy into the idea that the super wild card weekend, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, some people were burned out to a certain extent on Monday from all the games?
I honestly don't know. People say, who know more than me, that people don't watch TV on Fridays.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So I don't know. It certainly wouldn't matter to me. I would watch it on Friday and then watch the NFL Saturday and Sunday, and I watched the entire game on Monday. So
yeah, I did. I watched all 7.
Yeah,
so
I didn't mind
we're
it
not
at all.
necessarily the target
Probably.
audience, but somebody was asking me that question. Hey, if they put it on Friday night, because typically they have 2 games on Saturday and 2 on Sunday on a typical wild card weekend, and that's a big difference to suddenly bump it to 6, especially when you consider the games kick off at 1 and they basically went till 10 or whatever it is every night for the entire weekend, and then boom, you've got a Monday night game. And somebody, I don't remember who specifically it was, but said, hey, what about a Friday night leading into the Saturday and Sunday? So you got the appetizer being college football as opposed to trying to make it the dessert. And I thought that was a really kind of interesting idea.
Do you think it would have had more viewers if Ohio State would have been 12-0, like Alabama, 12-0,
Yeah, I think
instead of 8-0 like they were? And Alabama was so dominant all season.
Yeah, I think probably so. I think really it was by halftime the game being over, because we were watching and I was like, okay, there's no way that Ohio State is coming back in this game.
Yeah, same here.
And eventually, I guess Ohio State cut it to 14 at one point, maybe late in the third quarter, and then Bama sort of quickly scored back-to-back touchdowns to make it a 28-point game. And so basically, I mean, it's not like there was ever a point where you thought for the entire second half, oh, I wonder what's going to happen here. In fact, even the way the first half ended, it felt like Ohio State was almost throwing in the towel.